Yeah, yeah, yeah. So many lies that you hear from the net, they don't get her respect. She reporting the truth, not a check. You want an unbiased opinion straight from the chest, not a bit of accomplice or someone here for a check. Tune in, these are thoughts from a lawyer on a mission who goes so hard it's like she works on commission. Trolls in the comments might say she tripping cause they lack the knowledge, they don't know they missing. Got a couple current events that you like, wanna know about law from the eyes. Tired of all these blogs running lies because their agendas are disguised. Tune in to the intellect, cause I'm sure y'all missing all the facts of the case that she steady is gifting. Someone here for the people, man, it's so uplifting. If you ain't subscribed yet, then you just omitting facts.
Hello, everyone. It is Pam Esquire, also known as your law intellect. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. We are day 3 at the Megan Pete versus Milagro Cooper or Milagro Grams trial. And today had some highs and it had some lows, of course. But what I need you to do before we get into it, make sure you hit the like button. Thank you to all of the new subscribers. If you have not subscribed, I'd appreciate if you would consider subscribing. Welcome to all of you guys. Hey, for always, forever, for life. Hey, Kat Not Williams, good to see you, sis. Andrea, good to see you. Golden for Kimberly Brown. I see you all coming in. As you come in, make sure you hit the like button because we got a few things to get into. First, we thought Megan Pete was going to testify today. She did not testify. I guess they say they're going to save the best for last. Because I don't know. I guess maybe she'll testify tomorrow. I don't know. We've been trying to go through the witness list and check them off as they go. And she's number 1, but she hasn't been on there yet. So there's that. So the first person that testified today was they started with a video depth of DJ Academic. So I thought perhaps he would come in live. Somebody said he was supposed to testify with the defense, which would be Milagro. But today, the video depth was played for academics. And it was focused on the DNA results. You guys know part of the split on the internet is the DNA. Was Tory DNA on the gun or no? Some say yes, some say no. Well, the bottom line is it was inconclusive, okay? And so even though it was inconclusive, there was a tweet that was put out by DJ Academics, and this is what his video depth focused on. There was a tweet by DJ Academics that said, breaking, it just got revealed in court that DNA was tested on the gun, and I'm paraphrasing, and Tory was excluded. So this was like on, I know it was like at 11:13 in the morning. Let me see what date I think it was February 3rd of 2022. Now the problem was that DNA testing results was under a protective order. Protective orders are filed when the only eyes, well, depends on, there's a lot of nuances with a protective order, but generally speaking, you get a protective order. A lot of corporations do it because they don't want the public to see certain information. They don't want you to see their bylaws. They don't want you to see certain things. So in this case, there was a protective order. So that means it was only supposed to be for the eyes of the parties. That would have been the prosecution, the state, because this is Tory's trial. And that would have been defense attorney as well. So hold on one second. Thank you so much. Give more people time to come in, okay? Because I'm starting this on DJ Academics just like it was in that cold courtroom because hardly nobody was there when they were playing this video. So if you don't hear too many people talk about DJ Academics, it's because they might not have been there when this video was played, all right? When they talk about today. But anyway, so the protective order, I was explaining that. The protective order is for the party's eyes. So it would have been Tory's defense team, and it would have been the state of California that would have been able to have this protective order. So how in the world did DJ Academics get this DNA results, and it's under protective order? So of course, this was part of the main inquiry in his deposition. So they played the video and they asked him, about where he got it from. Does he know when he got it? And he said it's from a source. He doesn't feel comfortable revealing his source. And what happened is he ended up posting it and he took it down. So he posted it on February 3rd, 2022. And then he did it, let's just say 11:23. Then at about 11:28, and I'm making up the times, but it was like minutes after, Milagro posted the same thing. So they wanted to know, where'd you get this information from? Because it was on a protective order. So they wanted to know his source. He's like, well, I don't feel comfortable, giving up my source. So that conversation must have led to going back to court, because next thing you know, it was a whole second volume of a deposition, of which apparently there was an order of the court saying you don't have journalistic privilege. So they asked him again about the DNA. Does he remember when, how he got it, if it was from email, if it was from text messages? How did you get this? Was it verbally given to you? So he said he didn't recall. Thank you, Miss HLS. He said he didn't recall, like, when he got it, what time he got it, what day he got it, how long he held on to it. He doesn't recall any of that. I don't even think he divulged who gave it to him. I don't know if he said I don't recall, but he was definitely evading that question as much as he could. And so what they did, they asked him, they said, well, you took it down. And why did you take it down? He said, well, apparently the wording of it, because I said he was excluded. People, the internet investigators, they were saying that wasn't the right wording or something. So he took it down. So then they said, well, do you believe, now before the court got involved, they asked him, okay, you took it down. Do you believe that what you said was accurate? He said, I still believe what I said was accurate. They're like, no, if the document says that it was inconclusive, so you took it down because you know that it said that it was inconclusive. That means Tory couldn't be included or excluded. So how are you coming up with this? What I said was accurate. I stand by my tweet. I stand by it. Okay. So now we get to volume 2 of the deposition. It's after the court said you ain't no journalist, so you're gonna have to get this information. There's no journalistic privilege. So they go over this again, ask him pretty much the same questions about where did he get the information from, who gave him the information. And they said, do you think it's accurate? And, like I said, he was saying he stand by it. So then they pull up a transcript of when, so this was a big thing. We talked about it somewhat yesterday, of when Milagro was on the stand. They was asking her about this information about the DNA coming out. So they said, well, when it was being argued in court, it was being argued by Sean Holly, who was one of Tory's attorneys. And Sean Holly said she didn't know who DJ Academic was. And she said, you can tell that obviously it ain't come from the defense because the tweet was wrong. Because the tweet said breaking, he was excluded, basically. So they're like, Sean Holly is saying that is wrong. So why you still, this is his attorney. So why are you still saying that your tweet was accurate and Sean Holly said that your tweet was wrong? So then he turns around and say, so they're asking him, is there some reason why you think that you got a better definition and you know more than a legal attorney? She's like, do you know better than forensic? So then he said, well, Tory said that the same lawyer was doing significant businesses for the other side and was robbing him or something like that. So he kind of was, it was sounding like Sean Holly was more so from his understanding working against Tory. So apparently he wasn't really taking anything Sean Holly had to say at face value, because I mean, Sean Holly allegedly was doing A, B, C, D, and E. So then they show the audio. They share the audio again of Milagro, where she says she stands by what she said about the DNA. Because remember, she tweeted it too. She said, that's cool, the academics took down, but I ain't taking a thing down. I stand by what I say. She said, like I said, if it's a lie, Megan can get to suing. If it's a lie. Everybody was looking at each other like, well, here we are. Hey, here we are. It's Megan over there at the table. Here we are. So then Milagro, she's like on this video, and she's like on the video and she's talking about it, and she's smacking, right? She like, you just hear her smacking, and she's like, so I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna do another live. She was like, let me finish eating this shrimp. So she was on there smacking and stuff or whatnot. And she was like, but I ain't taking down Ish. That DJ Academic might have acted prematurely, but I'm not taking mine down. So they played that. And they was like, well, what do you feel about that? He's like, I don't, he didn't say nothing disparaging about it. He was just like, I ain't got nothing to say. So all of this was before, I think, his second interview. So now when you get into the second deposition, after the court said you need to talk, they started asking him about his due diligence. Like, how did you obtain the information? I don't recall. When did you get the information? I don't recall. How do you typically get information? Oh, I get them from a variety of ways. And then they asked him, like, so when you get information, do you do due diligence? He said, yeah, I look to see if this information is out already, see if I cross-reference to see if it's been out, things like that. And he's like, he felt like he thought there was veracity to it because no reports had really talked about it and all of that. I don't know. He was, I guess, trying to explain how he felt like he was doing his due diligence. And then they asked him, like, did they verbally tell you about this DNA test, or did you actually see the document? Like, did they pass on the document? And he denied having a document. He said he believes that it was told to him, so it was verbally related to him. So then they asked him, well, what type of time did you spend on this due diligence? And he said he felt like he did a level of due diligence. And then they asked him, do you know what a protective order is? He was like, yeah, I know what it is now. Shoot. And they was explaining to him it's only the parties that have access to the information. So the video they played on Academics was basically about this DNA test and how he got it. Because as you know, their whole point is that it's this big team that was created, this Team Free Tory. And that people are pretty much recruited almost, I guess, to come online and to come against Meg and to just support Tory. So this is where they're getting, like, where did you get your information from? Who's giving you this information? How would you have this information? The government is the only ones that have it, and Tory's team have it. So, I mean, come on. So that was really the testimony with Academics. Again, it was on via video. Thank you so much for the super chats. I see you all coming. Make sure you hit the like button on your way in. Thank you, April. Thank you, Mrs. C. Thank you, Granny the Great. Thank you, Miss T. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you guys being on here. Yeah, keep hitting those likes. Cross-referencing is not enough due diligence. Where he learned that at? I guess when people, the same way people are like talking about talking about kind of using journalistic terms, like they're like I gotta protect my source and all of that. When in theory you're a commentator. I mean, you just give your opinion on information. You're not a person that just puts out information in a manila fashion and have people take it as it is. You give your opinion on what you think about things. That's different. That's what commentators do. So then, y'all, Caesar McDowell, his video come up, right? He does the deposition. For those that don't know who Caesar is, he is the CEO of Unite the People. Unite the People is the nonprofit organization. The first time I saw him was at Tory's trial. I think it was his sentencing when I saw him. He was at the trial a few days, apparently. But the first time I saw him was at the sentencing, and he was the one saying, when everybody was saying great things about Tory to try to mitigate his sentencing time the judge may give him, he came up and was crying about, almost as if the place is being run like monetarily, just the significance of how Tory contributes to this organization. So what they do is apparently they provide low bono, maybe pro bono representation for people that are, incarcerated, helping to reduce sentencing for people, like post-conviction work. Eventually, they started representing Tory after the Jose Baez's and all them went away. They came in and started representing him on his habeas and his appeal, his appeal that he just lost. Like they started representing him on those matters. So Caesar is also the person who was representing Milagro at first. If you guys remember, there was a post that Caesar had posted, and he was saying, our firm is representing, Milagro Grams. And towards the end, he mentioned that I'm not doing this with y'all. I'm not doing this with y'all. I try to be really serious on here, you guys. I can't. Jesus help us. Okay. Focus, Pam. Focus. All right. You're trying to get through this. All right. You can do all things through Christ. All right. So Caesar, he gets in the chair and he like this. I said, oh, he about to carry. Okay. I knew when I looked at, I've done enough depositions to know that Caesar McDowell was going to carry in this deposition. He wasn't going to try to do much of anything. So, for example, let me give y'all some examples. What is your name? Caesar. What's your last name, McDowell? You gone by any other names? A lot of them. Like what? What kind of, he said, you Unite the People. Do you mind if I call it UTP? You can call it what you want to. And you the founder and CEO? Uh-huh. Yep. What kind of legal work do you do? A lot. What kind of people call you to get some type of legal assistance? Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, all type of people. What type of work do you do? Do you do criminal? Sure, we do that stuff. How you get your financial resources? I don't know. You got any loans? I don't remember. What are your responsibilities? I don't remember. What do you do there? Work hard. What do you do all day long? Work hard. You don't provide legal advice, do you? No, that's against the law. You got a law's license? I don't remember. Did you attend school? Prison. Prison ain't no law school, is it? No. Prison. Then he said something else, and she asked him a question. He said, "What time is this gonna be over? What time is this gonna be over?" Then he said, then he said, "How much time you do in prison?" 26 years. Was that for just one conviction? Multiple convictions. So when was the first time you did your prison bid? Bro looked at his arm. I'm not lying. He was like, 1992. The first bid was 1992 to I think 1995. Then I went back in 2000, and then I did 20 years. Did you help Tory prepare for his deposition? I don't remember. Do you know Miss Cooper? I never met her in person a day in my life. Did you go to his criminal trial? Sometimes. Were you being paid to attend? No. Do you work for his lawyers? I don't know. Were you at the trial to support him? No, I wasn't there to support. I came, every now and then. If you wasn't there to support him, what was you there for? I don't know. I don't remember. Is Tory sitting on your advisory board at Unite the People? I don't remember. Tory contributed to Unite the People? I don't remember. So then they pull up the advisory statement off of their website, and they got Tory as being one of the advisors on the advisory committee. Then she said, You think Tory is innocent? Yeah. What's the basis of you saying that you think he innocent? What you mean? Oh, you talking to me? I'm like, bro, who else is in here getting questioned? What are you talking? He's like, you talking to me? Yeah, I'm talking to you. What is your basis of him being, you saying he innocent? So he kept reading because they have a statement on their website that says something about they also represent Tory Lanez, who is innocent, who was wrongfully accused of A, B, C, D, and E in their statement. They're like, so what is your basis for saying that he didn't do it? I know he ain't do it. How you know he ain't do it? I know he ain't do it. Well, Miss Cooper testified that she met you at trial. Oh, she could have. I don't remember. Has Tory paid fees at your nonprofit? I don't remember. Didn't Tory donate $50,000 to pay legal fees for 30 families at your nonprofit? I don't remember. Who are the clients Tory helped pay their legal fees? I don't remember. Did that include Miss Cooper? I don't know. How much did Tory pay you? I don't know. Has he given you any items of value? I don't know. Well, on April 7th, 2025, Tory's father, Sunstar Peters, who? Tory's father, Sunstar Peterson, testified during his death that Tory was on the board of the organization. I believe the office runs out of Long Beach called Unite the People. Caesar was like, sure. So he's showing the video. I don't remember. How long has he been on the board? I don't remember. How long he been on the board as an advisory? I don't remember. Let's just put hashtag IDR, because that's what I started putting, IDR. I was just quoting IDR, just putting my little IDR. Then homeboy said, do you mind if I roll up? I said, what did you say? Do you mind if I roll up? She said, well, I mean, I can't stop you. I mean, what am I going to do? Oh, okay. What does he do on the advisory board? I don't remember. He said, I need to take a break. Said, no, we have to agree on a break. Listen, he stand up. He say, I'm taking a break. He said, I'm taking a break. Listen, I got to take a smoke and I got to take a piss. All right. So I'm taking a break. He said, no, we have to, unless you want me to piss right here, I'm taking a break. So then he walks off. So then she says, let the record reflect that the deponent has walked off of the deposition. So then he come back and he rejoins us. And once he gets done, I guess puffing, peeing, he comes back and they start asking him about certain emails. So they're like, so basically they were showing emails where he had emails that he would send like the legal documents to. So he would forward them and they were like Milagro. I think it may have been one with T with the T or something like that. And Tory Lanez. Well, I want to say extra. I know that ain't what it's called, but it's some fan club. And so it was like the subject, Daystar Peterson, the AG reply brief. So he would like send them when they would get stuff or whatnot. So they would pass like multiple information. So they were asking him, did Unite the People pass on multiple information to Miss Cooper? I don't remember. Don't you pretty much do criminal cases? I don't remember. But you chose to represent Miss Cooper, right? But you guys don't do civil, like you mainly do criminal cases, right? I don't remember. So Miss Cooper doesn't even fit your profile for who you guys represent. Is that right? I don't remember. You don't normally take civil cases, right? You don't rep people in Florida. You don't represent people that are you don't represent people out of prison. So why would you make an exception for Miss Cooper? I don't remember. One of the reasons why you made an exception was because of the connection that Miss Cooper had to Tory. Is that right? I don't remember. And you talked to Tory on a recorded phone line about Unite the People representation. Then the court, the judge stops the tape, right? It's like, you guys stop the tape for a minute. If there are any people in the jury that have their phone out, please put your phone away. I said, oh my goodness. They was like, they probably said, we know his testimony. If they took notes, they probably was like, I don't remember. And then they just started doing something else. I don't know. So then you just see one person like, put my phone down. So then Caesar started looking like this. He like, oh, huh? I don't remember. What'd you say? Was that a question? Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember. I was just like, so then they start pulling out jail calls. So they got Caesar and him. So apparently they subpoenaed a request with the calls between him and Tory, and they've had over 97 calls between the two over 14 months from when they did their subpoena. So on one of the jail calls, he was reading the statement that he was putting out about Milagro, that they were going to represent her, and that if anybody else feel like they've been bullied or harassed, and they'll represent them too, and da 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 da. And so he said, Tory was like, when he read it, he's like, what's this? Like, I'm confused. Is this a statement? Because it sounds like two things are going on. You got a statement where you're supposed to be representing Milagro, but then at the end, you like opening it up like, if anybody else need representation, we'll represent y'all too. So he's like confused. What does that even mean? So he was like, he tried to explain it like, yeah, that's what it both says. He said, but I'ma post it. Then when I get done posting it, I'ma send it to TMZ after he posted. So then Tory, and that's when I said Tory got a little brain up there, okay? Tory said, isn't this a conflict of interest? Like, y'all represented me, and then y'all trying to represent Milagro. So would this be considered a conflict of interest? And so he was like explaining, he being Caesar was like, no, as long as she knows about our representation and all of that, then that's good. Like, we'll be all good as long as she knows about the representation. So then the phone call cuts off and all you hear is, damn, this the phone call. That Ishton cut off at exactly 11:30. So the phone cut off in the middle of that conversation. So then it was more questions. You were representing Milagro at Tory's directions, weren't you? Y'all know what the response was. So then they say they subpoenaed Milagro's cell phone and the cell phone from her phone records, and they said there were 73 calls between her and him, between Caesar, between October 2024 and March of 2025. He said, I don't really recall much as you see, but that seems weird. You said what? 93 calls? She said, no, I said 73 calls. No, that just seemed off, but So he was like, I know I don't remember too much anyway, but that seemed a little off to be saying we was talking that much. So they said, well, has any of your calls with Mr. Tory, with Mr. Peterson, did you guys talk about Megan P in any of those calls? I don't remember. Didn't you have conversations where you was talking about the public relations strategy and what you guys were going to do for it to be a better look out here for Tory and shift the narrative? I don't remember. So then they put up a jail call where they were talking about, where Tory was talking about Meg and Milagro. like on the jail call. So it wasn't really nothing like, he was, Tory made some comments and was talking about Meg, and Caesar thought that he was talking about Milagro. So they weren't on the same page. And he was like, who you talking about, Milagro? And he's, no, I'm talking about Ogre. Like, he was trying not to say her name. And he was talking about Meg or whatever. So then there was a call where he mentioned that he had to pay $5,000 because remember, he's representing Milagro now, but they're not licensed in Florida. So as you all know, that means he has to pro hoc in. So he was telling Tory, I got a pro hoc BJ in and I got to pay this local council $5,000. So he was talking about, so basically he was talking about the representation with Tory. So that's what they trying to with Milagro, about Milagro with Tory. So that's why they were saying you were doing this at, they're trying to elicit that this is just one big scheme that Ty set up. They all working together type thing. So then there was like a group text, and this group text had somebody named Jasmine, it was Milagro, and it was Caesar. And in the text, he was talking about, we need to talk to ACT. We need to talk to academics because maybe some stuff we put out or whatnot. So they wanted to talk to academics. That's what Caesar said. So again, it kind of showed like everybody is together and trying to help defend Milagro, and everyone knows what's going on. Like this is some type of a team Tory. So then she asked a question about Tory, and she's asking like who Tory is and whatnot. He said, oh, you talking about the rapper guy? Trying to be funny. He was like, oh, you talking about the rapper guy? Yeah, I heard he could sing. Yeah, I heard that guy could sing. Then they put up, there was like a press release that was put on Unite the People and Caesar's website, and it was tagged, Caesar's Instagram, I think, and Tory was tagged. And they were saying, like, you do know that Tory, the page or whoever's tagged, they have to accept it in order for it to happen. Like, they can't just tag you. I don't know if it was originally posted on Tory's, but somebody would have to accept it because it was like on more than one page or whatnot. He's like, oh, really? That's how it works? And it was basically talking about Megan. Megan Cuniff was in the courtroom. Her name came up a couple of times. It was like talking about Megan Cuniff is the mouthpiece for Meg Thee Stallion, and she's repeatedly wrong in her reporting, and he stayed silent. It was some post you guys probably already saw. So they put it up, and he was like, good, and good luck with getting him to testify. So maybe it was on UTP or on Caesars. I wasn't clear on who it originated from, but to say good luck with him on testifying. So then they also put up the transcript from, or the video, that part of Milagro's deposition where it was like, do you know what Milagro said about y'all? And he's like, I don't know. And he pulls up where she was saying that Unite the People, the contract she signed, they were supposed to represent her pro bono. And then it ended up somehow changing, like during the course of the representation, they changed it. And she said Caesar stole her money. So then they asked her, asked him, did he know about it or whatever, about what she said and this and that. And he was, of course, he don't know. He don't remember that. So yeah, they asked him, did Sunstar have a role? Remember, that's Tory's dad. I don't know. Does Sunstar go to meetings? I don't know. What's his role, if any? I don't know. So anyway, y'all get the gist of it. It's a bunch of I don't know. It was all of that. So that's Caesar. That was his testimony on the video. But then we get to T. Ferris. Y'all heard of T. Ferris. He is the manager of Meg Thee Stallion, honey. He got up there. My name is T. Ferris. He said it just like this. Last name was Ferris. It's like, oh, he's very Southern. Okay. So he basically says that he started working for Meg. They met through some friend, like the friend was connected to Meg, a friend of the family, and he contacted a friend and was like, yo, I want to work with her. And then they kind of set it up and he started working with her when her mom was alive. So apparently when her mom got sick, so he had his role, you know, just as being part, doing like assisting the day-to-day video studio, stuff like that. And her mom was her actual manager. Then her mom unexpectedly got sick. And when her mom got sick, according to him, he promised the mom that he would look after her and make sure she was okay. So he was like, I guess, a big brother to her is how he said it. And so that's how he started taking the role of like what the mom was doing. So he started doing more like booking shows and being able to accept shows and being able to sign off checks and all of that. So that's kind of how he ended up getting into the role. He said that he's just been there from ups and down, you know, from bologna sandwiches to the steakhouse. He been there when they was frying the bologna at the bottom, from commercial flights to jets, do the ups and the downs. And he said when her mom died, she matured even more, and it motivated her that she wanted to make it, you know, to the top. So then of course they asked him about Milagro. Like, when did you hear, you know, anything about Milagro? He said, I never heard of her until around July 2020, right after the shooting. And he heard fans say that she had so much negative things that she kept saying about Meg. So he said he showed Meg the post of something negative that was sent to him for her to look at, and she had already seen it. So she had already knew who she was, because apparently she had been saying some negative things about her. And so they asked, did he personally listen to the live streams from Milagro? He was like, yeah, I've personally seen them. I've personally heard them. And basically 99% of the things she say is negative. 99% of the negative things that happen online or people say online about Meg is Milagro. So then they, like, you know, she would say things. She would say she lying about getting shot. She talk about her music. He said that she breathes, she get talked about. All Meg got to do is, and here come Milagro talking about her. So then, of course, they asked him, well, how did you learn about the shooting? He said that he got text. You know how we saw the text where Kelsey contacted Justin, the bodyguard, and was like, help, Tory just shot Meg. He said he got a text right after that too. So once he got the text, he said he jumped in the car like, I'm down for my little sister, and he was trying to find her. So he said he zips past he ended up passing it. And then on his way back, he looked up and he see all the helicopters, all the cop cars and all of that. So he gets out and he's like, you know, what is going on? But Meg was already in the EMS. And so they said, we're about to take her to the hospital. She has some injury to her foot, but they didn't say specifically what it was. And was like, so she can just give you a call when it's all said and done. She'll just give you a call, let you know what's going on. So he said he just went home and started waiting on the car. Did I tell y'all they live together? I missed that part. They live in the same house. Mm-hmm. He said, how often do you see Meg? All the time. We live together. But then I guess it's another person that lives there too. So it's 3 of them that lives there. So then she said she calls from the hospital, and when he gets there, he went inside. She was crying, and the detective came in and said that they had just pulled bullet fragments out of her feet. And I guess he must have inquired why she said it was glass or whatever with the whole glass situation. She said she wanted to protect Tory. And he talked about the whole George Floyd thing, thought everybody was gonna go down. No, he said she said she wanted to protect everybody in the car. That's what he said. He ain't just specifically say Tory. He said everybody in the car. Because if one person do something, they all might end up going down type thing. So that's why she had, basically said what she said. So then, of course, they put up an audio from Milagro. Y'all already know it was a bunch of cussing and fussing. She said, talking about Meg, you come from a line of alcoholics. Wasn't your daddy an alcoholic? What about your granddaddy? Somebody was supposed to be an addict. Said your mama was going to jail for stealing. She was like, going off in this audio. So then he asked, had you heard that audio before? He said, yeah, I heard it before. He said, did you show Milagro? Did you let Megan hear it? Yeah. Well, how did she feel when she heard it? She was very sad. So he was saying she gets upset and she just goes in her room when she hears this type of stuff, and she just goes off in her room, and I guess she cries. Then there was a text they put up where it was between Ferris and Meg, where she tell him how sad she was. And she was saying, I was the one that was shot and somehow everyone else is the victim. I feel like I'm always under attack. Again, I'm paraphrasing. It was kind of a long little message. She was really typing, but that was the gist of it. I feel like I'm under attack. I'm very, very sad. And he responded, and with Psalms chapter 69, verse 4. He said that is a scripture for all of your haters. Okay, that is the hater scripture in the Bible. So then he said, because I used to be able to say things to help her. Now it ain't nothing I can really say. I tell her, be all right, ignore. I say all of this. And he was like, so because I can't anymore, I just sent her the word. Send her the word of God. I just sent her a scripture. So then, let's go forward. She said, should I do the show? So she had a show coming up. And I guess he said, if you don't feel like doing it, then don't do it. So it's kind of like that becomes a trend, where that is part of what happens when she gets sad or upset. She doesn't want to work. She doesn't want to do shows. She doesn't want to do music. So essentially it's messing with your pockets. So that's what this has caused for her, was it messes with the pockets. So then they put another video up of a Milagro, and she's talking about video trial day 1. So this is the Tory Lanez trial. In this video, she's describing the jurors in the video, and she's like, it's an old ass black man, so-and-so, saying they ethnicity and bitch, and a couple Dan said it was a couple of them looking at the DA. He is fine. He like this, handsome guy, whatever. They looking at the DI like they was suck his. This is what is happening about these jurors in the Tory Lanez trial, right? So they asked her, like, okay, Meg saw that. Yes. What was her reaction? She couldn't understand what this was about. Like, why would you find a way to like even just talk like this about the jurors, type thing. So then they put up the audio. Remember, we know that Tory apparently did a song and he gave Milagro a shout out. So she had an audio where she like, shoot, they ate that the F up. Look at my shout out. I ain't going up for nobody, unless they go up for me, unless they Drake. If I'm going up for them, they got to go up for me. So apparently the shout out was, so I was able to actually, they put the lyrics up there. So I know what the shout out was, but this is the shout out. It's Mila, Mila, Mama Mia, you're calling me. You really want a scoop? So then, of course, they asked Ferris, hey, what did you think that meant when you heard the shout out? He said, well, it looked like she's being shouted out by Tori because they working together. So then they do another audio of Milagro. Basically, it said, you know, you a lying ass out. And you have absolutely ruined Tori's life. So this was the gist of that audio. And they said, well, what did Meg hear that? Yes, she did. And how did she react? She was very sad and she just went to her room and wouldn't come out. You said whack ass lyrics. Oh God, I gotta get y'all. You said Tori ruined Tori's life. Listen, Miss Angie said them was some whack ass lyrics. 504. Hey sis, good to see you. Yeah, let me see what my good sis got to say. He said, I hope there's some logic behind it. I don't like friends knowingly or accidentally doing things that keep bringing their friends down. Let's see. I have to see the original to see what y'all was talking about. Did academics say where he got? I didn't hear in there. If he did, I missed it. I didn't see. I think he just said like the media or something. So we're going to get into that. See, this is how I know you're one of the smartest people that I've met, Kat Not Williams, because they do get into that about why that is going to be the crux of cross-examination. And I get where, you know, you can get where they was going. Like I picked up what they were putting down in the first two lines of their cross. But that's kind of what they was getting into. But, you know, he does give somewhat of an explanation as to why he does. We got to get there. You're just so smart. You're just getting ahead of me. Okay. So then, of course, they say, they ask, he says she calls her out her name all the time, talking about Milagro. He said, if Meg opened up a Popeyes, she would say that drunk ass bitch. Just said it don't matter. Like she never says anything positive about her. He said she opened up a Popeyes franchise. She still will come online and say, that drunk ass bitch. She don't never got nothing positive to say. So they put up another Milagro tweet. And it was the one about let me find those receipts of Megan's ex-bestie telling me that she wasn't effing T. Ferris, that's her guardian. So that's another issue where Milagro was making it seem like that something was wrong with Meg, that she had to have a guardian, you know, challenging her mental health. So that was a big issue that was happening. That's been happening in this case of her saying that. So apparently before that post, according to T. Ferris, Milagro has said that they slept together, that T. Ferris and that Meg slept together. And he was saying that that was not true. They've never slept together. That is just like he's the big brother. So apparently, of course, when being Milagro, went and I guess she had a conversation with Chelsea, who was one of the friends. She is the one that told her that they weren't messing with each other. He's her guardian. Y'all get it? So originally, there was a post that was saying they were sleeping together. Chelsea, who is a fan of Milagro, said, hey, sis, no, they not sleeping with each other. He is her guardian. So that's where the whole you got something going on, why you need a guardian. That's where that came from. So, of course, they get into that. And they asked, you know, what are you to her? Said, I consider myself her big brother. No, I'm not her legal guardian. So they asked, do you have any legal control over her life? No. any type of legal papers that you are her guardian. No, I ain't adopted her. I ain't did nothing. I am not her legal guardian. Did Meg see that tweet? Yes, she did see that tweet and she was upset. So then they put up the audio again where, of course, we went over yesterday where Milagro was talking about the mental status. So that might have been why they felt like they had to put Milagro on first to try to introduce some of these tweets and stuff and audio, since that was going to be the crux of what they were going to use even in future testimony. But that was a little, I don't know. So then they get into the whole deep fake video. So they said, well, when did she find out about the deep fake video? So apparently, they showed us a still shot and they said, we're not going to play the whole thing. We're just going to put the 2 seconds up so they can show or whatever, I guess, that this is the deep fake video. So they put the clip on and they froze it for a minute and it was showing Meg or a AI of Meg or whatnot, which is part of what one of the causes of actions are in this case. So they asked, have you seen it? He said, yeah. Apparently somebody sent him a link. They were on a tour bus about to go do a show. And he said when he got it, he felt like he needed to tell her so at least she could, for the most part, I guess, get over it or be okay by the time they get to the venue. I don't know. But he said he showed it to her, and she has her own room on the tour bus. He showed it to her and she just went in her room and she cried. And she ain't come out for hours. So it must have been a long bus ride. So then they show a text of Milagro telling people to go look at her likes, which of course is the part they're saying she promoted this video because people went over there to go see the likes because she was telling them to go over to her likes, which was connected to that video. And he said Meg apologized to him for even seeing that video, apologized to him. And he's like, that ain't your fault. Like somebody else, but that's not even real. So it's not your fault, talking about just how embarrassed she was, that came out. And he said he understood by Milagro with the screenshot telling people to go to the likes that she was promoting it and telling people, sending people over to the video. So that's how he understood it. And he said, he said in his whole life, his whole entire life, he has never seen anybody hate anyone as much as Milagro appears to hate Meg. So then he says, how much she's changed. She's not as accepting, of people since all of this happened. She just wants to be alone. She feels like the world hates her. She went into a state of depression. So he is the one that wrote out that check for her to go to treatment. So from 2022 to 2023, she went to a treatment center for a month. So it must have been in-house. And he approved the visits. Y'all ready for this price? Y'all ready for this price? $240,000. I said, well, geesh, I'm in the wrong business. I should be over here listening to people's problems and stuff. $240,000. Everybody looked at each other like, for 30 days? I think they said it was. The psychologist might have said that came on the stand, said it might have been 6 weeks, but he said, they said a month. I said, dang, I might go back to school. You said Milagro spoke on that too. She even said it was an alcoholic. Oh, Lord Jesus. Yeah, it was $240,000. So that was the direct. So cross-examination, and this is what I was saying with Kat, not Williams. Cross-examination, this was really the crux of what they were trying to elicit. You were charged with taking care of her. You took on that responsibility. You promised the mom. And you would be the ones to show her all these texts and videos. Like, why, if you knew it upset her like that, why would you be showing her texts? Why would you be showing her videos? And he eventually explained that she was going to see them anyway. And most of the time, like other people, he felt like if he was the one that presented it, he can at least try to help her in the moment, to let her know, forget the haters, forget all of that. We gonna get through this. They just jealous, whatever, like trying to encourage her, as opposed to somebody just DM her like, girl, you see what they said about you and your mama? Girl, did you see this? So that was kind of like what his explanation was. But the crux of the cross was getting at, you knew this bothered her. And then there was a time, obviously, when she got off social media. So he said, was there a time when she got off social media because she said she needed to heal? Yeah. And was you still giving her text messages and or not text, posts and videos and all of that? Why would you do that if she off social media? Like, this supposed to be for her mental health. Why are you still sending her stuff? So that's what they were trying to elicit, on cross-examination. And then he said, so what they did was and this is what they were doing in most of the testimony. They would bring up academics dragging her for filth, Aiden Ross dragging her for filth. They brought up Nicki Minaj, was saying that, they went through, Nicki Minaj doing the diss track. Have you heard the diss track from Nicki Minaj? And essentially they're just trying to say, she got all these people coming at her. It's not just Milagro, but y'all want to just blame everything on Milagro. But she be beefing with some of everybody. It's pretty much what they were trying to get at. So he responded and said, when DJ Academic says something, when Joe Budden says something, when Aiden Ross, yeah, they'll talk about her and they'll say they don't like her, they don't like her music, it's trash, whatever. But then they hit it and they go. Like, they talk about her, and then if something else happens 2 months later, they'll talk about it again. They were like, Milagro has been talking about this lady nonstop for 5 years. Nonstop. So then he asked the attorney, you explain it to me, why you think that nothing is wrong with somebody talking about somebody not for 5 years nonstop. I want you to help me understand what type of person would do that. Tell me about your client. What would make your client do that for all this time? So then he says, everyone is entitled to an opinion, but she just goes like way too far. And it's just, she said, Joe Budden ain't been hating on her for 5 years. DJ Academic ain't been hating on her every day for 5 years. He said, if there was a Guinness Book of World Record for hating, Milagro Grams will win it hands down. I said, dang. And everybody's like, it got a little snicker in there or whatever. Everybody trying not to laugh out loud. But he said, if there was a Guinness Book of World Record on hating, Milagro would get it on how she be hating on Meg. So there's that. He said and you not understanding, this hating thing become a game. Like, everybody teaming up to do it. But there is one person who is doing this consistently. It's just consistently. It's like having a wound and somebody just keep picking at you and picking at you and picking at your wound. So then they asked him, have you heard of Partisan Fontaine? You know, that's the ex-boyfriend of Meg Thee Stallion. You know, he had a little slick things to say too. Have you heard of Partisan Fontaine? Yeah, that's an ex-boyfriend. Do you know when was she dating them, or how long did they date? I don't keep up with, like, dang, I'm a big brother, but I don't be keeping up with when she met up with people, when she broke up with people. Like, I don't know. And then she said, you know, they were getting that because in the text, the long text I was saying where she was sad and she said that other people became the victim, she said people don't give her grace. So their thing was a lot of people didn't give her grace. You know what I'm saying? So then he turns out, he said, yeah, a lot of people didn't give her grace. He said, but the person who did it the most was your client. You right. A lot of people didn't give her no grace. But your client is the one that did it the most. See, I can say, he gives an example. He said, listen, I could say I don't like your shirt. But what if I tell you for 5 years every day I don't like your shirt? How would you feel? If I just every day just got up, I don't like your shirt. Hey girl, I don't like your shirt. Let me post it online. I don't like your shirt. And I did it for 5 years. How would you feel? That's what she been going through. So then they get into her being an alcoholic, or trying to allege she's an alcoholic. I ain't saying she is one. I'm saying that's what they was trying to allege. And so they start getting into her drink. Do you know her to drink a lot? I mean, we drink when we celebrate. No, have you known her to drink when she's sad? No, I ain't never heard her say, I'm sad, give me 5 shots. No, that ain't what. Have you known her to have 5 glasses of Hennessy? Have you known her to have 5 glasses of, they named some other liquor? And she was like, not with me. If we celebrate because we got a brand deal or whatever happened, I take my shot and go to my room or whatever we do. But no. So then she asked, do you have a recycling bin? We was all like, where is she going with this? Do you have a recycling bin? Yeah. Have you ever seen alcoholic bottles in the recycling bin? No. You know, she lied about, what happened that night. He said she lied to say everybody in that vehicle not to bring harm to anyone in that vehicle. That was her reason for lying. So that is T. Ferris. That was his testimony. And that was a live testimony. And so we got to get into Rock Nation. Rock Nation has entered the courtroom. We have someone from Rock Nation. 504 says, so he never heard her go live in the living room drunker than the skunk online. Okay, sir. Let's see. Meg may not drink now, but sis used to do it. So we're going to get into that in a few minutes too. I mean, when we get into, there was a psychologist and she was, psychologists are what they are. When you get into experts, you kind of like, snooze-a-rama. But it was a few points or whatever that I'll point out. That part will be real quick because it was just kind of like, okay. It's bigger than her having an opinion. Oh, thank you. Megan feelings can be hurt because she don't like Milagro talking about her, but that's not illegal. That is from Nautical Love 15. Thank you for your comment. Her said Ferris was standing on big business. T. Ferris did a good job. He sound like Ferris did well. I think Ferris was a great witness, in my opinion. Daniel Kinney. Rock Nation has officially entered the chat. We hear about Rock Nation and how most of this is being kind of orchestrated by Rock Nation. Today was probably the first time that I could somewhat see what people were talking about. Because people will say things, I don't know none of these people, but yeah, it was interesting. So this guy, Daniel Kinney, is the senior vice president of the commercial partnerships. So he is the one that does the branding deals. So he does all of the branding deals. And he's been there for 6 years. He's done well over 400 brand deals. He does it for the top people. So I think he said Alicia Keys. He's done Meek Mills. He does Meg the Stallion. And he was saying he's worked with Meg for over 6 years. Her brand deals were like Revlon, Nike, AT&T, Miele, Airbnb. He talks about how her work ethic was like bomb.com, and said how he understands, like, the companies understand how to entertainers help them, and of course they help the entertainers as well, with marketing and making a couple of dollars. So then they asked him, well, at some point, was there an issue with deals? So in 2022, she had a whole slew of deals. I think he might have said 12-ish. She had like a lot of deals. Then that was in 21. Then in 2022 to 2023, she was having a lot of mental health issues, because they said it was related to bullying was the reason why. So she was withdrawing from the team. So she would not want to show up. She wouldn't want to. She would pass on situations of which she typically was like, I want to work. I want to work on more. You got to almost stop her from working. Now all of a sudden she just don't even want to be involved in anything because she's the victim of bullying and harassment. So then he also said that he saw it on the internet, and he said her marketing, it declined her opportunities, and she kind of started stepping back from her work. So I'm not gonna lie, the first brand deal that he talks about that she kind of walked away from, or it wasn't, I wasn't getting that people didn't want to work with her. It was she just could not handle it because of all the things she was going through, so she couldn't show up for it. So one of the big deals was Fortnite. Now I don't play that, but I know that it got a whole lot to do with some powing, right? Right, baby. Okay, so I knew that. I was like, I ain't never seen it. I mean, I may have like, maybe my son plays it and I done walked past it or something, but I've never played it. So one of the deals was like Fortnite, and so what they do is, I guess they have what's called skins, and you can turn into people. So she had a deal with where there was negotiation. They get to the point of the long contract form. So basically, for those that don't know, and this is what happens a lot when you do different deals, even with labels and people that do reality shows and TV shows, the main parts of your deals you have out, and it might be 2-3 pages, like the big parts, like your money, if you got non-compete, how long you can't work on another network, if it got something to do with that, those type of main issues you do kind of on a short form where you hammer out those deals, and that's that. Then you'll have like a long form contract, which has all of the information in it, which is your final deal, and it'll add all type of extra clauses, venue and arbitration, and if we can go to court, things of that nature. So apparently they got, in these 4 deals they talked about, they had got to the point where it was that close of them negotiating, doing everything, that they got to the long form. So they get to the long form deal and they're about to sign. And then, so what she was going to do is they were going to have it where she was going to be a skin, I guess. So people could be, it was like a hotties package. So people could be Meg the Stallion. Like, I guess they could make her, be on there. So then she said the day before or 2 days before or closer to signing or whatever, she realized that people would be shooting at her. And so it triggered her, and she didn't want the deal anymore. And I said, huh? We didn't know that guns was involved, but so yeah. That is what it's like, AccuVision or something. So, and that deal was 1.1 million for 1.1 million. Then I guess from the marketing aspect, it would have been tens of millions of dollars. And it had been negotiated, and it was like all she needed to do was really sign on the bottom line. So it was the day before she was supposed to film. So what they do is they scan your body, I guess, for the game. So it was a day and she wouldn't show up. She's like, nah, I'm straight. I don't want nobody else shooting at me. And so then they said she hasn't worked, obviously she didn't work with them since. And then they said, well, who replaced you? Who replaced her? Did they actually eventually find a replacement for her? Yes. Well, who was the replacement? Nicki Minaj. So apparently Nicki Minaj ended up getting that good money and taking that spot for this whole Fortnite deal. Then we got Google Pixel. You guys know that was around the Q4 she had in November 2022 with the Pixel phones. It was going to be a campaign and she was going to be face of it, and it was going to be a Super Bowl spot. And it was a big thing because Rock Nation had a spot. Ain't Rock Nation them a part of Super Bowl? I thought they was Jay-Z a part of that or something. Anyways, it's supposed to have been a big deal because it was 2 years in a row that someone from Rock Nation would have had a commercial spot. So she was supposed to do that. She was all excited about it. The value of that deal was 1.4 million, but it had other perks. You had, you get to fly on jet. You can get all the phones you want. You get some service for the cell phone. So it had other perks as well that, of course, can equate to monetary value. And it went down to the wire on that deal. They went down to the wire. And then Meg kept pushing the date and saying she wasn't available on the day she wasn't available. She wasn't available. She kept putting it off. And then she just ran out of, Google was like, listen here. We about to move on, sis. Because we didn't get you opportunity after opportunity. Like, nah, we not pushing this Namo date. So they moved on. And the deal fell through in January of 2023. So then she had another date with Just Eats Takeaway. And that's supposed to be like a Grubhub situation. But it's mainly advertised in Europe. So this would have gave her some international type exposure. So, and she was supposed to create, it wasn't really about the money for that one. Was it that one? This one might have had a couple dollars in it. Let me see how much this was. Just Eat. No, Just Eat was a couple of dollars. So she was supposed to create a song and star in a commercial is what she was supposed to do. And so the negotiations was spring of 23 and it was $2.6 million. And she would have been, it's very hard to get artists, American artists outside of the United States. So of course she's all excited because this is her international hottie debut, And then Meg did a post where she told people she was gonna, I guess, go offline for a while. So I guess Just Eat said, wait a minute. They sent an email. Excuse me, we want to know. Meg says she planned on going offline for personal time. What's that all about? Like, we gonna need this marketing. What you mean she going offline? And so Just Eats was not happy. He said that they were frustrated. They was probably pissed. And so there was that. They said because she said she sent out a press release and said she was stepping back. And the email said, what is this? She said she's stepping away so that she can heal. They put heal in quotes in the email. And they was like, yeah, no, that's not. So that partnership did not proceed. So then she had an opportunity, and so that was lost in June of 2023 with the whole Grubhub comparison to Just Eats. So then she had another branding opportunity with US Women's Soccer. So she had already had a deal with Nike at some point. Nike was the official sponsor for the US Women's Soccer. So she was going to be essentially hired so that she can develop an official anthem. Wouldn't that have been cool? She was gonna do an anthem. So it was really, that was the one where the cash, they said, oh, well, the cash value was insignificant. It was $60,000. So that was the one where she was supposed to do the anthem. But of course, it was more so of the marketing and the notoriety. That was the value of it as opposed to the cash value. And so she didn't complete the song. He said he would see her like, hey, every time he'll see Meg, like, girl, what's going on with that song? You complete that song yet? The song done? I'm going to get it done. I'm going to get it done. You got it? Sis, you got it? Walking through Rock Nation highways. You got it? Yeah, I got it. I'm going to get the song together. And she didn't complete it in a timely manner. They said she was not in a good head. She had to tell them she's not in a good headspace. She had basically been missing a lot of dates around that time. And so she missed out on that deal. So they said, well, today Meg is in a good headspace, though. She's better. She's taking some time off. She's working again, and she's more focused. Okay. Hip, let me see. What you say? Hip Stantor said, oh, now Lotto just got that Just Eats deal because her and Christina Aguilera did that. I want to say he does marketing for Christina Aguilera too, or the commercial partnership thing. I believe that was one of the names that he said. So yeah, there's that. So then, of course, they have cross-examination, and that's when he said he works with Alicia Keys. Yep, Christina Aguilera. He named a couple of other people, and they said, well, who do you report to? He said Desiree Perez. He reports to the CEO, Desiree Perez. And they said, well, how many deals have you gotten for, I guess, Meg? He said, oh, I've closed at least 36 deals for her. So in 2021, he had 10 to 12 deals. She had Coach, she had Nike, she had Revlon, she had Mael, she had Cash App, she had all the ones that I told you before on top of that. And so on cross-examination, they were like, well, would you call that a burnout? Like, bro, maybe she just tired. Maybe she needed a break because she 10 to 12 deals. She got to work 10 to 12. He was like, oh, no, I don't think she was burnt out. She loves to work. At that time, she loved to work. Then they said, don't you get incentives to make these deals? And he's like, no, I mean, I get a salary. I get a regular salary. And yeah, I may get bonuses, performance bonuses, but I have a salary regardless. And they said, he said the company gets commissions for these deals, but he doesn't personally get them. And so, of course, they asked him, like, do you know what Call of Duty is when you got this deal? So they kind of was saying, well, we was thinking you didn't know that it had a lot to do with Pop Bowen. Then they said, were you thinking about her mental health when you were like, okay, like, let's go get this deal? He was like, no. He said it was a marketing opportunity. They weren't looking at it like the games portion of it. They ain't care about what the game was about, what it was doing, which way. This marketing. We are marketing this girl, okay? So forget all the extra stuff they had to do with it. Absolutely not. We weren't thinking about that. So then they asked, he said something about this lawsuit. And they said, well, when did you find out about the lawsuit? He said, well, the team, decided they wanted to take action against Milagro for her actions. And he was like, she said, well, who's the team? I mean, the lawyers, the managers. So he names the people that is considered her team. And they asked him, were you aware of bullying online? He said, yes. He said, wasn't it thousands? Because again, they're trying to paint the picture of it wasn't just Milagro, it was all these other people. So why you pointing your finger just at her when all these other people are doing the same thing? She said, it was thousands that bully her, including from famous people such as Nicki Minaj. Don't you think that Nicki Minaj is an A-lister? He said in hip hop. She said yes. So, oh yeah, she's an A-lister in hip hop. He said, what about Miss P? Is she considered one of your A-listers? Oh yeah, she's an A-lister in entertainment. He made it clear, Nicki Minaj, yeah, she's an A-lister, but over there in hip hop. But Meg Thee Stallion, she's an entertainer. She is a A-lister for entertainment as a whole. So then they asked him, well, thank you so much, April B, for the super chat. I thank you so very much. So then they asked, well, couldn't it be that her deals were being affected and stuff? Her going back and forth with people online? Like, yeah, have you seen her going back and forth with people online? Like, that you don't think that affects anything? And then they asked him, who shot Megan P that you know? He said Tory Lanez. He said, was it Tory Lanez who shot Megan P? Yes. Did Miss Cooper shoot Miss P? It's like, no, I don't believe so. Has Miss Cooper ever threatened to shoot Miss P? I mean, I don't know, not that I know of. Don't you, in June of 2023, where some of these deals were happening, wasn't Tory Lanez being sentenced during that time? Don't you think that around that time that would have affected her mental health? That, you know, the fact that would have played a role in the loss of the deals, that it's on the news and all of that, that the sentencing, he's like, yeah, it affects it, but all of the bad press, all of the people talking about it, and the way people are essentially exciting it. It's not just, yes, it's horrible that she has to deal with the Tory Lanez, but now it's like it's a perpetual thing, is what he said, what he was saying. Then they asked her, did she ever specifically say, I'm not doing a deal because Milagro Graham was on my mind? And he was like, no. Oh, yeah. That is Rock Nation, who was there, obviously, so that we could know some damages. I don't know how I felt about that. What y'all feel about that? How do you guys feel about the proposition that it was because, or essentially saying that these deals fell through because of Milagro? Do you think it was of course, cross-examination is saying it's a whole, had a lot of things going on. It's not just Milagro that was affecting her health, her mental health like that. It had to be a whole lot of stuff. It's a whole combination of things. So why is she just being blamed? You said, nah, Milagro has a lot of engagement that can go at least 250 to 500K people. So I wish they stop making it seem like she's a little small subsector of the people that talk about her. Elite Leo said the same Nick who has no friends, also of the bars who seem can no longer afford her. It claims everyone is stealing from her. Yeah, that Nick. Milagro fueled a lot of hate and misinformation. That's from T. Collins. Thank you for your comment. I think the smear campaign impacted her ability to be present. Okay. I think Milagro's smear campaign added to Meg's distress. Even if it didn't, her antics are going to be hard for the jury to completely discount. Nada Khalil said they are literally targeting Milagro. Coco Cream said Meg has been going back and forth with a lot of people for a while, so they need to stop the cap. Miss Lady, my name, said I watched Milagro in the beginning and I unfollowed her because she went too far with her so-called opinion, as you call it. The difference, Milagro kept going and never stopped. That's pretty much what T. Ferris was saying, was just like, okay, so you wake up. It's a difference between you having a, like, even here, there are certain situations where people are consistently in the news. And if you're following their case, I may have to talk about you every day for a minute. But if there's nothing to talk about you about, I'm not going to go talk about you. I'm not going to go find and try to see what your baby mama's doing, where you go to the dentist, who dumped you in the 4th grade, when you didn't get voted prom queen. But that's not what I do over here either. But that's not going to be what I do to keep it going. Now, if you have something that is recent and relevant, then I think that's what you talk about. In this case, they're saying she would essentially look for things. So it's like they're alleging you want to talk to the ex-boyfriend, you want to talk to the ex-best friend, you want to find things to confirm the negativity and confirm that this is not a nice person. So Sunshine Blazing, thank you so much for the super chat. You said, it probably was a mixture of things, but Milagro had the time and kept her foot on the gas. Fair. She didn't have to stop. That is not illegal. Milagro can be the biggest hater in the world. That is still not illegal. I agree with you to an extent. You cannot just continuously, there is a such thing as bullying and harassing. Otherwise, that wouldn't be a statute. Now, whether she falls into it, whether her actions again fall into it, and she's not just being accused of that. She is also being accused of promoting a deep fake nude video. She's also accused of intentional infliction of emotional distress, which would be when you keep going, whether that was outrageous behavior. That's what they're saying. It's outrageous the way you were going and beyond. That is for a jury at this point. Then the defamation, I want to say, and don't quote me, but I think the line, I was trying to find a verdict form. I'm gonna have to pull that up because one of those claims I thought might have got dismissed, but I know it was a situation related to whether she committed perjury or not, because perjury is a crime. And so when you say somebody committed a crime, then that's defamation per se. So yeah, thank you, Robin, for the Cash App. And Lakeisha sent me a Cash App yesterday, and Kimmy sent one yesterday, and I missed it before we got off. But I appreciate you all so much for supporting the platform. But I get what y'all saying. I'm just trying to give you all sides and perspectives. I'm not trying to make nobody believe one way or another. At the end of the day, none of us matter. It's going to be them 6 people in that jury box. So Joe Button said there's a video showing Kelsey shooting Megan. Whack 100 said the same thing. Why they didn't sue them? Where is it at? That's part of their argument. Why are you suing me but not suing? But see, T. Ferris is arguing that they know that these people have said things, but they'll say things like, I got certain people that seem fixated on me and they talk about me. But then after a while, they don't say nothing. They might come back 6 months later. Stuff like that may not bother you. But if somebody was consistently every day trying to find something and consistently doing that, then maybe it's a problem. And that's what their argument is. On the flip side, again, as some people are arguing in the chat, what about free speech? What about opinion? Why can't a person give an opinion? So now it's going to be up to a jury to, in this particular case, because it's going to be a case by case, fact by fact. This is just a district court case. It'll be whatever the verdict is, unless they appeal it all the way up. It's probably going to be just persuasive authority in the area, and they're going to decide whether it went too far. So did they play the station head of Milagro speaking on the promotion? They may have, but I wasn't there if they did. I wasn't there the first day. And I think with the first day that Milagro was on the stand, they said they talked about the deep fake more. So I can't answer that question in an honest manner. I'll be speculating. So yeah. The video is being suppressed by Rock Nation because they desperately want to bring Tory down. Okay, Coco Cream. That's allegedly. Y'all see Coco Cream, Rock Nation. So y'all, they said that. I ain't said. I just put it on the screen. I was just listening to what people had to say. I listened to Milagro, and it wasn't that she was regularly talking about Meg. It's that she was regularly talking about the case when there were updates. So you saying the audio we heard. So what they were doing, just to let you know, is they were showing station head. They were showing different station head and Instagram audios where they would ask her what was going on in his case that you were talking about this. They were asking that question. So they were trying to, I think they were casting that probably is not the case by saying, what was you doing and what was happening in January of 2024? What was happening, whatever 2023? Like all this stuff was after the case. So was his sentencing? Was it his appeal? Like what was happening? What was happening where you was talking about your daddy an alcoholic, you need help, your friends don't love you because they should have told you, you're drunk, you're mentally retarded. Like she was saying things like that. So what does those comments and those type of derogatory terms have to do with the case? Now, I'm just saying, that's going to be something for the jury to ponder. They are literally putting up there. So are they looking, hey, this is just who she is online, and that's just an online personality, and this is the real her on the stand, and this is what she meant, and maybe she didn't communicate it in the way that some people don't, some people may not like? Or is this really how she is online and this ain't what she is in person? This is not really who she is. That's going to be for the jury. And I think at the end of the day, a lot of this is going to come to credibility on who they like, almost on likability. Lucas said Megan was constantly in the news, but when I watched Milagro's coverage, Megan only came up when there was actual updates. People did not even want Milagro covering the appeal because they felt it was targeting Megan. And thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. Okay, y'all going at each other. Okay, so while you guys carry on in the chat, like Caesar was carrying on when he was like, I don't remember. I don't know. What's your name? Let me go check my arm. That dude, they said, what time when you go to prison? Let me see. Do you mind if I roll up? I'm like, dude, this man know it's a big old camera in his face and he being videotaped. But yeah. Okay. Dr. Lenore E. Walker came up and she was a psychologist. And honey, she said she's a clinical and forensic psychologist. She got her bachelor's degree in like 1960 something. She got her master's degree in like 1960 something, 2 years later. She got her PhD in 1972-ish. So she has been doing this thing longer than some of us has been alive. I was looking at her like, oh, wow. So, of course, she gives all her background and credentials and all of that. She reviewed a bunch of information that was sent over to her, the restraining order from that she got on Tory. It was the records, her psychology records when she went away for that $240,000 visit for 30 days to 5 weeks. She went over that. She went over some videos, some documentaries. She went over a few things. And she came to the conclusion that she has post-traumatic stress disorder. That was her diagnosis after testing and evaluation. It is her professional opinion. Now, what she said, this is very interesting. She says she believes that the actual shooting caused the PTSD. However, she believed that Milagro, now it's so mixed up where you can't differentiate because of the perpetuation and how she's kept it going. So she would be on the men's to healing from what happened she wanted to heal from this whole shooting matter. She wanted to deal with it, but she's not allowed to heal because you got Milagro out here carrying on and on and on and not stopping. So it's similar to someone who gets in an auto accident, and we'll do a jury instruction that says, yes, they have pre-existing injuries. But here, jury, if you can't tell whether it was the accident or what happened before because they're so intertwined, you can't separate them, then you need to find that it happened, the cause was the accident. Like there are jury instructions like that. So what this psychologist did was say that, of course, you cannot negate the fact that the shooting happened, that Tory is the one that did it. And according to, the verdicts. So you can't really negate that she said that Tory is the one that shot her. So obviously that will cause some type of trauma. However, they said this was her ultimate diagnosis. Now, in getting to that diagnosis, she did consider a lot of trauma a lot of events that happened in her life. I think she mentioned she was always taller than everyone. So of course she got teased. She mentioned her father died suddenly. Then she had her mom that died unexpectedly. And then 2 months before that, her great grandmother had died. So she said she had a lot of grief that was different than the trauma that is related to this bullying and harassing that is going on that was going on with Milagro. So of course she had a whole lot of stories because she's been around for a whole lot of years. I mean, she's literally been doing this for over 50 years. So she was, giving the assessment, and she did it over telehealth. And, for those that don't know, they have MMIs, multi-mental, I forgot what it's called, what it says. But basically there's different testing. And then once you fall under certain categories, then that's how they come up with your diagnoses. And so she doesn't contribute the childhood and all the trauma. She said she went through the stuff. She said grief doesn't leave you, but you learn how to live with it. And so she was coping with the grief, but it was this bullying that has really caused her to go over the edge. Lucas said they should have requested Megan's phone records. I'm curious how often she looked up Milagro's name to keep up with everything, especially since Megan claimed in an interview she was not online anymore. They may have. We don't know. Megan has not taken a stand yet. Like I said, I think we all thought it was happening today. And maybe we said it so much that they was like, yeah, no, we're not going to think these media people know what's going on up in here. Okay, no. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. Yes, she was out 2 days later after she got out of the hospital with Future in the club. Okay. Well, this is their time to shine when she get on the stand, right? On cross-examination. We haven't been there yet. So they say she resolved a lot of her grief. So they believe that it's, this is basically Milagro's fault. They said Miss Cooper got involved, and so she started questioning herself, and she felt like that this was some kind of conspiracy. So it was like she gets shot by, she's like, listen, I tried to lie so that I can help you because I didn't want you to be in trouble. My focus was protecting everyone in the vehicle, including you. And this is how you repay me. You go online and you talk about me, and then I have to come out and say you shot me. And then she's like, I feel like he's still hurting me and harming me with this big old conspiracy with these people to keep me in this traumatic space. And he said, and then the psychologist mentioned the deep fake video that she saw that too, and saw the post where she said, how do you send people over? She said, and then the fact that she sent people over to her likes and her mentions, and then told her, get over it in the post when she said, you want people to stop talking about you, they not, so you need to just get over it. She said, so she's like, what is this? So all of this stuff combined has affected her mental health. So she said the shooting was the initial cause, but Milagro kept it going. and it merged together to the point where you cannot separate it. And so she acknowledged that most recently she's trying to get out. She's trying to have a more dating relationship. That's what we've been seeing over here in the social media. She's trying to have more, time with friends and developing new friendships. So she's trying to do better. She's trying this help when she went to therapy and all of that good stuff. So then that was pretty much the direct. Then on cross-examination, they start out. Now, this is something that a lot of that you do with expert witnesses. I don't even know how effective it is anymore because we all charge for stuff, but it's almost like routine, I guess. I don't really do it like that anymore unless it's significant. But you'll ask about how much did you charge? And you charged this much up until July. You got this cert. You're being paid, right? Correct. Man, so are you. While we're standing there, we charge per hour too. We get paid for our time. But she's like, you get paid. You're here because you're paid, right? Yeah. And if you got her treating physician because he's away from his practice, he gonna charge you too. Right? They don't just be coming to be witnesses because you tell them, why don't you come and testify for me about my broken arm? No, you gonna pay them. So she said, yes, I sure am. Because this is like remind you of grandma or auntie or something. She's like, yes, I'm paid. She said, and you got paid so-and-so up to July of 2020, whatever it was. I sure did. Yes. She said, and then you reviewed some more information and you got paid more money. I did. And you're being paid to sit right here today in this trial. I sure am. I sure am. She said, oh, and you're getting paid $500. She said, no. I charge a $5,000 flat rate for the day. So if I'm here for 1 minute or I'm here for, no, she didn't say the 1 minute or 10 hours. I just kind of added that. But she corrected her like, no, I don't get paid $500 an hour, honey. She said, with my experience, I've been doing this for a long time, $5,000 flat rate. And you sat in the court yesterday and you knew there was a sequestration, so you weren't supposed to be here watching the testimony. She said, I don't know anything about the sequestration and she wasn't supposed to be here. She said, but when they said that they didn't want me in there because I was testifying, I left. So that was that. That's all I know. And so you got paid for sitting around yesterday. I sure did. I did. I said, Lord have mercy. Okay, y'all, are y'all blocking? Are you in this chat now? Oh, he done went to sleep. Whoever used this BITCH, you need to get them up out this chat. One of these mods. Thank you so much, Patricia, for the Cash App. I appreciate it. She said, and where's the crime? Listen, I wanted to pull out the nail polish thing too. Like, okay, sis. She said, So then she says, and it was on. So then they get into this line of questioning that was interesting because it was telehealth. So they're like, and you saw her with telehealth. I did. And so you didn't fully observe her body. Well, yes, I did. I had her stand up and I saw her full body. Well, she wasn't standing up the whole time. Of course not. No, she wasn't standing up the whole time. She said, well, so you didn't know her facial expressions. You couldn't observe her body language if she was fidgeting. She's like, no, I can see certain body language and certain fidgeting in her body. Well, what parts did you see on the video? She said, the way the screen was, I saw pretty, I was able to see pretty good. She said, well, what parts did you see? Oh, well, I saw like from the waist up. I was able to see but you couldn't see her, like her feet fidgeting or what. Well, typically if you start tapping your feet or anything like that, you're going to see it in your upper part. So she was like, yeah, if it's any tension, I'm able to see the tension, in their face. So then she says, So basically, she was trying to like discredit the telehealth that you're doing it through video. Does your viewers know that Milagro is shadow banned on all social media platforms, meaning you have to search her name to see her content? Her platform does not reach the masses. That's from Mimi Valdez. I don't know. I figured honestly that her attorneys, and I can be speculating, you know more than I do. I figured that she's limiting her social media presence because it's not a good look, especially when they keep using your social media against you. I would have said stay off of social media. So I guess me not seeing her, like I was saying, like we followed each other, I want to say, on Instagram, because I met her at the trial, and at the Tory Lanez trial. And I just thought honestly that she just was staying away from these social media platforms for purposes of this trial. Now, I'm not on Station Head, so she's on Station Head. I'm sure she ain't trying to give up all her money, so she probably doing something. But I would have said, like, can you like chill out on some of the social media? But I understand that's her financial means as well, so I don't know. But I'm not aware of that. If that's what she is, shadow blanding, okay. Let's see. So let me get back to what I was saying. So she said, you couldn't observe her if she was looking at notes. The doctor's like, what notes would she be looking at? I mean, the test is a question and answer. It's online and you just click your answer. Like, it's not no prearranged test, like, you're taking a bar exam or something. What are you talking about? What are you talking about with notes? So you couldn't see. She said, you didn't know if she was under the influence. She was like, I've done this enough, honey. I can typically see when somebody is under the influence. Do I know all the time? Absolutely not. But for the most part, I can see when somebody is under, the influence. Then she said, when you were evaluating her, did Miss Pete mention that her and Nicki Minaj were in a beef? Like, she literally said beef, the attorney. She said, did her and Nicki Minaj mention that they were in a beef? She was like, what's a beef? That lady like, ma'am, I'm like 70 years old. What are you talking about? What's a beef? She said they were disagree. They were, they were disagreeing. I forgot how she explained it, but she tried to explain what a beef was. And she was like, no, I didn't know nothing about that. Did you know that Nicki Minaj released a diss track called Bigfoot? She said, no, I don't. What is that? Like, what are we talking about? I'm not following her career. I was just kind of here to do a little psychological evaluation. So then the attorney goes on to explain what a diss track is. She said, a diss track is when people kind of go at each other, in a song. She said, did you know that in the diss track, Nicki Minaj said that she was having sex with someone that her friend was dating? Lady's like, ma'am, I told you I ain't even who was a Nicki Minaj. I ain't watched nothing. I never heard the diss track. No, I didn't know that's what was said. She's like, okay. She said, and you said that you watched so she like started questioning her on all the different videos, because the doctor said she looked at on her own volition. I guess she said she had some young people that work in her office or work for her. So they knew Nicki Minaj. I mean, not Nicki Minaj. So I don't said her name. They knew Meg and Pete. So they were looking up, like they were telling her like different videos she could look up. So they listed, WAP and all of that for her to look up and see. And it was funny because the psychologist was like, I've seen that she is, strong woman empowerment type songs. I was like, who got women? The strength of a woman. I forgot how she worded it. I was like, okay. But then she also said that she watched the documentary. So the psychologist said, yes, she said, I also watched her documentary. So they said, do you recall in the documentary where she said she was drinking a lot? And the doctor was like, she said, no, I don't, the psychologist said, I don't really remember that. She said, well, I'm going to refresh your recollection. So then they have this 5-minute clip of her saying, I was drinking a month, and she had, I guess that she had been using alcohol more than she should have been or whatever. She said, I was drinking like a month. That's what she said on the documentary. And so the doctor, the psychologist turned around and said, well, many have episodes where they may drink, but I mean, that doesn't, a lot of people drink more than they should. That doesn't mean that they're alcoholic. Like, that happens. She said, on the test that I do, it actually measures to see if someone uses alcohol, not a tool to test. It came out that there was no abuse of the alcohol in the test that she's done. And then she said, of course, she said, but you don't know. Have you seen her? Of course, I'm not with her 24 hours. I'm just doing a test, sweetie. She didn't call her sweetie, but she's the older lady. So she said, she goes over everything that will cause her to relive her trauma. So she's going over all if somebody is talking about you, did she tell you about academics and what academics did? Tell you about someone named Aiden and what they did? And so they're going over all the list of the people. And then they asked her, like, did she tell you about her boyfriend, Party Fontaine? And he also did a diss track about her. Did she tell you about that? She said, honey, she ain't say honey. Let me stop saying that because I'll just be hearing her say that in my head. But she was like, I'm pretty sure some of my ex-boyfriends don't have nice things to say about me either. She's like, no, I didn't. Could that have effect, cause her to relive her trauma over and over again? Because remember, the opinion is that Milagro is making her relive it. So they're going through all these different people and say, well, if this person said this, or this person did that, or this person did that, would that cause her to keep reliving her trauma over and over and over again? And she's like, it's possible. She said, I'm saying everything's possible because she never brought it up to me. The person that was bothering her was that lady over there, was Miss Cooper. That's who was bothering her. So no, I ain't go over no Nicki Minaj and no diss tracks and no beefing and ex-boyfriends and all of that. Nope, didn't do that. So that was like what the crux of their cross was that there's so many different people or whatever, and how are you differentiating and just pointing her out, as some of you guys are arguing in the chat as well. So then she also said, when it came to the alcohol problem, she said she read all of the therapy notes for the 6 weeks or whatever she was there. They said if she was an alcoholic, she would have been suffering withdrawals while she was there. So even if she had some issue before, even by the time she went to this place, she must have already, whatever was going on, because they said she would have been suffering withdrawals. There is no way, if she was an alcoholic, like what they're alleging, she's an alkie. She said people can be occasional drinkers. People could drink, to have fun. People can do all of that. Doesn't make them an alcoholic. If she was an alcoholic, she would have been suffering withdrawals, and it would have been in this documentation. And it was nothing about alcohol when she was at that therapy place. So it's a no. It would have been documented. So then they tried to elicit, but you're not a treating physician, are you? No, I'm not. I'm a psychologist. I didn't say I was a doctor, and I'm not even her treating psychologist. I was here as the forensic, examine her and all of that. But wouldn't you think that you're not qualified to say whether she was an alcoholic or not? Oh yeah, I'm qualified. Like, ma'am, did you hear my credentials? Yes, I am qualified. So are you saying that you are a better equipped to come to that explanation than her treating physician? No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. That's not what I said. Well, are you saying this or that? Listen, I'm telling you that's how it would have went. I'm not saying who is more qualified or who ain't more qualified. I'm just saying that I could make that assessment. It's actually in a test as well. So there was that. Nancy Grace did the same thing with Casey Anthony over the years by continuously saying she unalived her daughter after Casey was found not guilty. What's the difference in this case? I don't really watch Nancy Grace. And I know she called her talk mom. So I watched Nancy Grace. I watched Nancy Grace when she was commentating on the trial, like the trial was going, and she is a diehard prosecutor. What she did was prosecutor like. So it's very rare that you see her on there with defense attorneys and be cordial with how defense attorneys respond. If they even say innocent until proven guilty, tomato, tomato. Of course, she want to do the semantic like a defense attorney. I mean, that's kind of like her personality. So no, it wouldn't shock me that she did. And I thought at one point Casey Anthony or somebody was trying to threaten lawsuits, but I don't know. I don't know what happened with that. I am not the authority on that, but and I don't know how she was doing it. So the issue is, I don't think the way, and I said it yesterday, the way Milagro explained it on how she felt about the different evidence and how she interpreted the evidence, and she just related in just, kind of like a different way. And it was just, I believe this and this and that. And if I'm wrong, then I would apologize if I was wrong. If it really came out that he did it like that, I would apologize. That's different. But when you go on and you like, you stupid, retarded, and da 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 da, that's what I think a lot of the issue is going to be on how she is just, it goes beyond, I'm just advocating. I advocate for people that's wrongfully convicted. So I get everything that Milagro was saying yesterday of Black men that are wrongfully incarcerated. But you're not going to see me start talking about this prosecutor ain't nothing but I might say it was, they didn't turn over exculpatory evidence, or it was some prosecutional misconduct. If you're going to be in that space, it can't be in a way where like you're relaying, oh, your granddaddy is a drunk, your daddy a drunk, your mama be stealing stuff. Like, what do that got to do with, what does that have to do with this case? Nothing. So that is something that the jury is going to hear, and we'll see how they come out with that. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you, Shirley. And then of course they talk about Joe Budden. Did she mention Joe Budden? Did she mention this person and what they said? They could have caused the trauma too, right? They could have, and made her relive her trauma all over again. So that's what they're trying to do, is to plant a seed that, again, it wasn't just Milagro, it was other things that were going on, and that was pretty much what their cross was. So that's that. Thank you, 504, you said, for your carpal tunnel and hilarious commentary. Hold on to it as my retainer for my PTSD lawsuit from this case. Thank you for all you do, Pat, baby. Thank you, 504. You've been rocking with me for a minute, and I appreciate it. This is a civil case, so it's not about guilty. It's about liability. And I think that it can go, I mean, it may go either way. The deep fake, I don't read in the statute if they just stuck to the statute. I don't know. If they're saying she sent people over there, that's considered promoting. As far as the defamation, I have to go back and see what the specific statement was. That's very specific. When it comes to intentional infliction of emotional distress, are they casting some type of way to say, are they mitigating it? Yes, mitigating means that they're saying, hey, listen, even if she did do some of this stuff, she can't run away from it because it's online. They got emails, they got text messages, they got posts, they have all of that. She can't run away from it, but she can mitigate it and say, listen, she may have done some things, but she's not she doesn't even have the platform that other people have. Aiden Ross has 6.5 million. You had academics who basically said across all his platforms, he has 10 million. Now he did specify, which we all have that issue. You have people that are only going to come over here. People are going to come and watch this live that care about Meg Thee Stallion, care about Tory Lanez, or care about that. Then I have some people that it don't matter if I talk about planting flowers. They're going to come over here and see what your girl got to say. Then you get some people, all they care about is Ernest Williams. They're going to come over here and talk about that. Some people just care about the church gossip. So they're going to come back to church lawsuits. So he said, like, that's how the algorithm works. So even though he may have this, he may only get, okay, I got 10 million across platforms, but I only got 10,000 watching me. So he was kind of explaining that as well. And their whole argument is, well, they're going to try to mitigate it, as they should. What about that person? What about that person? It ain't just me. And once she get on the stand, it's going to be all bets off. Like, they're going to pull up a lot of this stuff. They're going to pull up incidents she may have had, issues she's had, statements she's made on her own, videos that may be out there of her drinking, like whatever. This is going to be their time to shine on cross-examination. So there's that. You said academics is definitely harassed. Well, he just did a clip like the other day or something about he was going to slip into the trial, but he didn't change his mind because I guess Aiden went and did the deposition, and when he did the deposition, they served him a subpoena to come to trial. But the thing is, if you've done a deposition, a lot of them they're just playing their depositions. They're not even having them come live because there was an opportunity for the other side to cross-examine them. But let me see about if I could find his. He did one the other day. It was DJ Academics abandons plans to attend Megan Thee Stallion hearing. Hold on.
So, you know, Meg just on that blogger, I was going to pop up in court. Feel me? I just want to make sure everything good. I mean, I ain't seen Meg walk since, you know what I mean, the whole thing happened. I just want to make sure she's straight. I was going to pop up to the trial. She testified today, too. But after what I seen that did Aiden, nigga, I said, I'm good. Yo, Aiden went in for a deposition. They served that nigga with an extra subpoena, took his phone, went through his messages. Yo, Rock Nation on bad timing, man. So I was going to go in the court to watch Meg testify and do the fake tears and lie, you know, habitual. But I said, I'm good. I'm not trying to be nowhere with Rock Nation and them Secret Service people with an extra subpoena. Said, boy, I'm getting out of Florida.
And Tyler Perry does this thing with both.
So, yeah.
He was flourishing.
So, yeah. So apparently he came to Florida and he was going to do a pop-up, and he said, nah, I'm good. They sat up there and subpoena his phones or whatever. So there's that, y'all. Thank y'all again for the super chats and all that. It's 10:40. I'm going to let y'all go. Hope you guys enjoyed the commentary. Thank you again for all the cash apps, all the super chats. Tomorrow, I know that there's another part of, is it Caesars? If it is, probably a bunch of I don't knows. But it's another part of somebody's deposition that we heard today. And it's a couple. Our son Star has a deposition, so I don't know if they're going to play that, but they had him on the witness list as playing his deposition. And it might have only been like one more live witness. So I don't know. Either Meg, I don't know if she's going to testify tomorrow. Maybe she won't testify on Friday. I don't know. But whatever it is, we'll be in the building for it. So if you guys will be so kind to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Welcome to all the new subscribers, and welcome to all the people that's going to watch it on the replay. But until then, I'm gone. You guys have a good night.